Hello students, I am Ashima Arora, subject matter expert at Goyal Brothers Prakashan. Today I will be sharing some tricks and strategies to boost your confidence and enhance your preparation in the examination for the subject of science. So let's discuss. Today I will be focusing on pattern of assessment, then features of sample paper issued by CBSE, very important, then types of questions and format of the paper, chapter-wise important topics, followed by strategies to prepare for the exam, and then at the end I will be discussing some don'ts during the exam. So let's proceed one by one. I am sure that you already know that the theory part has 80 marks and the internal assessment is 20 marks. So let's focus on 80 marks theory today. So you already are much aware that the unit-wise marking scheme for science subject is as follows. Chemistry, which is unit 1, it is 25 marks. That involves 4 chapters, the chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. Then biology, which is world of living, it is also 25 marks, and our environment chapter, which is in natural resources unit, is of 5 marks. When we talk about physics, so physics is unit 3 and 5. It includes natural phenomena, that is light and human eye, which is of 12 marks, and electric current and magnetic effects, which is effects of current unit, and it is 13 marks. So again, it is 25 marks. So basically I can say chemistry and physics, they both are 25 marks each, but the weightage of biology, when I include environment in it, is actually 30 marks. So total marks is 80. Now let's talk about details of the CBSE sample paper, which was issued by CBSE obviously. So the science sample paper has allotted time 3 hours, total 80 marks, and the format of the paper is both subjective and objective. I am sure you have seen the sample paper. The sample paper has 20 MCQs, right? So it has objective questions and assertion reason questions, followed by there are short answer, very short answer, long answer and case study questions. So number of sections are 5, in which 1 marker questions are total 20 in number. They are objective questions. It means you have to choose any one option which is correct, and it is section A. In section B, you will find 2 marker questions, which are basically 6 questions, and they are very short answer type questions. Then when you talk about section C, it is 3 marker questions, and there are 7 questions in it from question 27 to 33, and they are short answer type question. Followed by section D, 5 marker question. They are basically 3 questions, 1 from biology, 1 from chemistry and 1 from physics, and it is from question 34 to 36, and it is a long answer type question. Then section E is 4 marker question. They are case study based questions. Again, as you can see, 37, 38, 39, there are 3 questions which are case based questions. So again, they are from 1 from biology, 1 from physics and 1 from chemistry, right? Now the question paper design is as follows. You will find that the understanding based and knowledge based questions are 46%. Then application of knowledge or conceptual questions will be 22%, and formulate, analyze, evaluate or create questions would be 32%. So this makes the question paper design. Now there are variety of questions you will find in the sample paper. Yes, there are assertion reason questions. Lot of conceptual questions are there. Numerical questions basically from light and electricity chapter. Then case based questions are also there from all the 3 subparts, that is physics, chemistry and bio. There are lot of picture based questions. Multiple choice questions are there, and data based or analysis based questions are also there. Now let's talk about a very important part of today's discussion. It is chapter wise important topics with related sample paper questions. So children, first of all, when we talk about chapter 1, which is from chemistry, and it is chemical reactions and equations. What are the important topics? First and most important is balancing. You should always balance the chemical equation whenever you write. Whenever you write as a supplementary or a complementary answer to the question, make sure to balance the equation. So balancing a chemical equation is an important topic, followed by definitely types of reactions. So there are 5 types of reactions, out of which make sure to focus on decomposition reactions and redox reactions. So you should know the products of the given reactions. Now you should also know about endothermic and exothermic reactions, basically respiration and the reaction of quicklime with lime water. Children, keep it in mind that always write supported balanced chemical equations with any reasoning question. Also, a very important part, read the activities very carefully. You know, every activity of the NCERT is important and you must know the observations of those activities, right? So make sure to learn the activities, observations, not the entire activity, the observations and the related reactions to it, right? Now, these are the important pictures or the figures from the given chapter. So, from chapter 1, this is magnesium ribbon burning. Then, what will happen when silver chloride is exposed to sunlight directly, and this is what will happen when we heat ferrous sulfate crystals or lead nitrate crystals, right? Now, from the sample paper, as I said, there are picture based questions also. So, this is the MCQ given, and this MCQ basically is for the chemical reaction taking place between barium chloride and sodium sulfate. So, it is a direct displacement, double displacement question. Then again there is another displacement question which is related to the observation. So, children, observations, the color of the solution or the PPT is really important. Then there is assertion reason question from the rusting of iron, and there is another question related to reaction between zinc granules and dilute HCl. So, children, make sure to understand and learn the observations of the activities. Now, when we talk about next chapter, it is chapter 2, acid, bases and salt. The important topics is first of all indicator. Definitely it is very important, the color change of the indicators in different mediums and the change in the pH on dilution. Next, importance of pH. You already know there are a lot of importance of pH given in the NCERT. Make sure to know all those. Then preparations, properties and uses of some important compounds, that is washing soda, baking soda, caustic soda, plaster of Paris and bleaching powder. You should know the equations related to it, right? Then very important part, test of the presence of hydrogen gas and carbon dioxide, types of salt, whether the given salt is acidic, basic or neutral. Then predicting the acid and base required to form that salt. So, if it is an acidic salt, which acid and base is required to make that? If it is a basic salt or if there is any formula given to you, then which acid and base is required to make that particular salt? This particular question is really very important. Now, these are the important pictures or the figures from the NCERT. As you can see, this is the picture of zinc granules which are treated with dilute sulfuric acid. So, what are the observations of the activity? You should know preparation of HCl. This is the conduction of electricity through acid and base in water, and this is chloralkali process picture. Make sure you should know the entire activities of chemistry, they are really important. Then from CBSE sample paper, there is one MCQ given from the salt, whether which one is the basic salt. Then there is another question related to the reaction of metal with the dilute H2SO4. Children, when we talk about third chapter from the chemistry part, it is metals and non-metals. Definitely you should focus on the reactions of acids and bases on the metals. Then there is an exception of nitric acid that you should know. You should know the anodizing process, very important. Then what are amphoteric oxides? You should know the reactions to prove. You should know the evidence to prove that ZNO and Al2O3, they are amphoteric in nature. Then reaction of metal with water and steam. Keep it in mind, with steam the reaction is different. It is metal oxide which is formed. Then ionic bond formation, very important, electron dot structures of ionic bond formation you should know, and the properties of ionic compounds. Then you should know the steps of extraction, right? So, extraction of zinc, copper and mercury from their respective ores. Then corrosion, followed by a very important term, Thermit reaction. Then what are the important figures you should take care of? So one is this, a very interesting and very important flow chart related to extraction of metal on the basis of their reactivity, right? So you should know this, and this is a very important activity related to corrosion that you should be aware of. In the sample paper, you will find that there is a question related to electron dot structure, which is actually asked as MCQ, right? Then there is another question about basic oxide. You already know that metal oxides are basic oxides. Another question again related to the configuration, and then there is a question related to thermite reaction. Now when we talk about the fourth chapter, that is carbon and its compounds, so you will find that the important topics are catenation, a very important topic, that is versatile nature of carbon. Then covalent compounds, the Lewis structures or electron dot structures of covalent compounds, homologous series, allotropes, isomers, very important topic, nomenclature of simple compounds and functional group containing compounds. Then very important is chemical tests. How will you distinguish between saturated and unsaturated? How will you distinguish between ethane and ethene? How will you distinguish between ethanol and ethanoic acid? Followed by few very important reactions, addition, oxidation, esterification, dehydration of alcohol and saponification reaction. Make sure to focus on esterification. You will find there are a lot of questions that have been asked in the previous year as well related to X, Y and Z. Identify the compound, X, Y, Z or ABC type questions. Cleansing action of soap and detergent. The mechanism of cleansing action of soap is definitely important. Now, when you will look at the sample question paper, you will find that there is a question related to substitution reaction of methane and chlorine, right? And then there is another related question to the chlorine is given, but it is asked from chapter 2. So basically, we are saying that the chemistry portion is 25 marks. So one question could have two different parts from two different chapters. It could be possible. So the B part is actually from the brine solution, the electrolysis of brine solution. Then the choice part is related to esterification. See, right now I just mentioned identify X, Y, Z type questions. So it is related to esterification and saponification question. Now this is another ABCD question which is given as a case based question from chapter 4. So this is a case study given and it is asking for IUPAC name of A and F compounds. So again it is an identification question of A to F, right? Now when we talk about biology, so let us talk about life processes, which is chapter number 5. So in chapter number 5, very important is the functions. The functions of important terms like what is the function of liver, pancreas, gallbladder, functions of kidney and lot of topics which are very important terminologies. So you should know their functions. Then digestion of carbohydrates, fats and proteins, important differences, xylem, phloem difference you should know. You should know differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration, difference between breathing and respiration. Then you should definitely know well labeled diagrams of human heart, human digestive system, human respiratory system, urinary system and definitely nephron. Then what about mechanisms? You should know the mechanism of respiration, breathing, double circulation is very important, urine formation is certainly important, then transportation of water and minerals using xylem, right? Now important definitions are definitely important, like you should know the definition of osmoregulation, you should know the definition of diffusion and there are a lot of other definitions in life processes. Now the figures which are really important other than the well labeled diagram I just mentioned, definitely you should know this pathway of respiration, right? I am sure you know it is really important. Then this is the double circulation flow chart or pathway that you should know. You should know the labeling of this picture. You should know the labeling of this picture. Then this is the experiment that you should be aware of and you should know that what is the function of KOH here. So KOH absorbs carbon dioxide, you should know this. Then this is the cross section of a leaf diagram. You should know the labeling of this particular diagram. Now from the sample paper, MCQs, 2 MCQs are given. One is related to the digestion, another is related to the respiration. Then there is a 2-marker question. One is about making urine, the purpose of making urine, and there is a choice question given in life processes. It does not mean that that choice question will be given only from life processes. It could be from any of the question, but it will be a 2-marker question. Any one 2-marker question will have a choice, right? Then control and coordination. When we talk about control and coordination, definitely the function of plant hormones and animal hormones are very important. Functions are really important in biology. Functions of important terms like spinal cord, parts of brain, human brain, types of directional and non-directional movement, you should know with examples. You should know reflex action and reflex arc. You should know the explanation and the diagram of it, and definitely diagram of human brain and endocrine system. Mainly endocrine system, you should know the proper positioning and the labeling of endocrine, right? Now, these are the important diagrams other than the human brain and endocrine system. You should know the labeling of neuron. Then this is phototropism, geotropism and reflex arc. Now, from CBSE sample paper, there is one MCQ given from coordination, control and coordination. Then there is 2-marker question about iodized salt. Then there is a question related to hormone, right? Then reproduction. When we talk about reproduction, another important chapter from biology. Functions of important terms like seminal vesicles, you should know pollen grains function, testosterone, progesterone, fallopian tube, placenta. So, a lot of important terminologies are there. So, you should know the functions of those, right? Then the important definitions you should know: menarche, menopause, puberty, menstruation, pollination, implantation, gestation period. Lot of important terminologies are there. Then mechanism of double fertilization in plants and definitely menstrual cycle. Diagrams of female and male reproductive system is really very important, especially their making and the labeling as well. Then bisexual flower and double fertilization diagram. Contraception methods are really important. This is a very important topic from reproduction. Then other than the topics I have mentioned for the diagrams, these are some other diagrams. So, the placement of plumule and radicle in the cotyledon you should know. Then you should know what is this? This is spore formation in rhizopus, and then this is double fertilization diagram in plants. From the sample paper, there is one MCQ given. One assertion reason question has been asked from the reproduction chapter. Then one question related to post fertilization changes in plants. Then there is a 5-marker question given or asked from this particular chapter, and it is basically related to the reproduction in humans. Now, when we talk about heredity, children, heredity is a very small chapter now, and it is really very easy to cover that chapter. So, make sure not to forget to do this chapter in details. It's a really small chapter. I'm sure you will be able to complete it very quickly. So, in heredity, cross, dihybrid and monohybrid cross are really important. You should know the sex determination in humans. You should know the 3 laws of Mendel, right? So, the Mendel experiment laws you should know. You should know why he chose pea plant for his experiment. Then you should know the definition of dominant and recessive characters. You should know the table of dominant and recessive characters given in NCERT. Then from the heredity chapter, one MCQ is there from in the sample paper, and then there is a question related to sex determination. Then this is a case study question from heredity, and it is of 4 marks, right? As you can see here, children, focus on this particular point. So, there is a choice given, but this choice is not between A, B, C and this question. No, this is C part actually. So, A and B questions or the parts are compulsory. The choice is given between C part only, right? So, make sure that do not get confused that this choice is the entire question. No, the choice is within the subparts of the question. Now let's talk about physics. So when the first chapter we talk about is light, and as we discuss light, definitely first thing that comes in mind is ray diagrams. Yes, numericals. So light has very important sign conventions that you should know, because you have to use those sign conventions in numericals, right? So you should know sign conventions, you should know uses of lenses and mirrors, you should know the correct actual definition of focus or focal length, focal point, you should know the definition of magnification, absolute and relative refractive index, power of lens and one diopter. These are very important terminologies in this chapter. Then numericals of mirror and lens formula you should know. You should know the numericals of refractive index, right? Snell's law numericals you should basically know. Then laws of refraction and reflection. So this is the MCQ which has been asked from light. Then there is a question related to refractive index. It is a 2-marker question from light chapter. Then there is a 3-marker question from light chapter, which is actually again related to refractive index, as you can see here. Then there is a 5-marker question from light chapter itself. So see, it is really an important chapter, light. So here the question includes numerical, right? It is related to the ray diagram, and then followed by you have to either draw the label diagram, draw the ray diagram, and then you have to do the related numerical. When we talk about human eye, children, human eye has a very important topic which is defect in human eye, myopia, hypermetropia and presbyopia. So functions of important terms such as pupil, retina, ciliary muscles you should know. Then important definitions like lateral displacement, dispersion, what is presbyopia, what is atmospheric refraction, give examples of atmospheric refraction. Then reasoning questions related to atmospheric refraction, twinkling of stars, why planets do not twinkle, such kind of questions are important. Definitely myopia and hypermetropia, causes, correction and ray diagrams are important. Diagram of dispersion through prism and combination or recombination of prisms are also important. So from human eye, one MCQ is given, and as you can see there is no other question I have mentioned here. It doesn't mean that only one MCQ will come from human eye. It is also as important chapter as light. So make sure that you should do other questions also, and there are numericals on myopia and hypermetropia. Make sure to focus on those questions as well. From electricity, definitely graph and definition of Ohm's law is super important. Then the verification circuit diagram of Ohm's law. Reasoning questions from NCERT. There are a lot of good important reasoning questions given already in NCERT. Focus on them. Then important definitions of units, 1 volt, 1 ampere, then power, Joule's law of heating, then definitions of series and parallel combination with the derivation, right? Numericals of this chapter is definitely important. So basically in science, we have only 2 main chapters which have numericals, that is light and electricity. Though we do have numerical in human eye related to myopia and hypermetropia, but there are only 2 or 3 questions. So make sure to do the practice, the wholesome practice of numericals. They will be there in your exam. Then these graphs are really important. These are related to Ohm's law itself, and this is the circuit verification diagram for Ohm's law, and this is the verification of Ohm's law circuit, right? Now from the sample paper, you will find this is a 2-marker question related to the ratio of the equivalent resistances in parallel combination, and then there is a question, state the law, which is Joule's law of heating, and factors affecting resistance. Very important simple questions. Then there is a 3-marker question from light, followed by a 4-marker question which is a case study question from electricity. So this is electricity question. As you can see, there is a circuit given here, and then related questions have been asked, and it is basically a numerical in the subparts. Calculate current in each 12 ohm and 4 ohm. So it's a numerical based question from the electricity chapter. Then when we talk about the next chapter, it is magnetic effects of electric current, the last chapter from physics. So what is important in magnetic effects? Children, you should focus on the definitions again and the diagrams. The diagrams related to magnetic field lines across bar magnet, across solenoid and across circular loop. A very important part is diagram of magnetic field lines. Then you should know the definitions of magnetic field lines itself. So what is the definition of solenoid, right hand thumb rule, Fleming's left hand rule, what is fuse, what is earth wire, what are the functions of fuse and earth wire. Then you should definitely know the activity of Oersted experiment. And there is another very important activity which is displacement of current carrying rod in magnetic field, that is force. What are the factors affecting force or the displacement of rod? This is really important activity you should know, in which we are using horseshoe magnet. Then when we talk about CBSE sample paper, there is one assertion reason question of 1 mark from magnetics. Then this is a 2-marker question from magnetics. Then when we talk about our environment, the last chapter of science, it is also important. It carries 5 marks of total weightage. So the important topics are solid waste management. Very important term is ozone formation, how ozone is depleting, what are the causes, what are the harmful effects. Then biomagnification, a very important and interesting topic. Then 10% law, numericals are related to 10% law that I will show right now. Terrestrial and aquatic food chain, you should know at least one example of terrestrial and one of aquatic food chain. Then you should know how to find food chains from the food web. Then what are the characteristics of food chain? Now when we talk about sample paper, there are 2 MCQs which are 1 marker each, as you can see on the screen. One is related to ozone depletion, another is related to biodegradable substances. There is one assertion reason question from our environment given in the sample paper, and a very important numerical you can say, which is from 10% law. So a food chain is given here and they have asked question related to 10% law. So this is actually a 2-marker question from this chapter. Now children, after the discussion of the important terms, important topics of the chapters, it is very important to discuss some important strategies. So during the examination children, time management is definitely very important, right? Use the allotted reading time wisely. So I'm sure you know that you get 15 minutes of reading time initially. Utilize those 15 minutes very judiciously. Make sure to find out that out of the given options, which option will you do, and then read the question paper very carefully and do not write anything on the question paper. You can only just tick mark or do the full stop. Do not solve anything on the question paper. It is strictly not allowed. Children, carefully study or read the directions given for each question. Conceptualize the answer before you start writing. Draw diagrams wherever needed. Write the reactions involved wherever required. Write the applied formulas and all the steps clearly in every solution. Do not write everything in the rough work because examiners will not look into that. What is important is write stepwise in the numerical, solve everything in the numerical, but first of all you have to write the formula in which you have to substitute the values. So writing formula is important, it definitely carries marks. Rounding off to be done carefully and units to be mentioned in each solution. Very important, you should mention the unit in the last answer, the last value that you have got. Do not leave any question unattempted. Try to solve the questions. Revise and check your answers at the end. Now, some important strategies you should follow for this examination. Make sure that you have solved at least NCERT questions. Solve all the examples, especially in the NCERT, given in the NCERT, and prepare notes for your last minute practice. What kind of notes you can prepare? All the formulas in one sheet, all the ray diagrams in one sheet, all the important chemical reactions in one sheet, and then also analyze what you have already covered and what needs to be covered. Solve maximum number of sample papers or practice tests and do solve them within a time limit. Do a quick revision of all the topics by solving tricky questions. Develop a habit of setting the time limit to solve the questions. Now, what are the don'ts for the examination? Children, do not even try to cram the answers mainly in the numericals, because there could be change in the values, there could be change in the question. So, try to understand the approach of the numerical. You should know the technique, right? You should know the formulas and then substitute the value. Focus on sign conventions in chapter light, very important. Don't pressurize yourself by studying unfamiliar topics at the end. Don't study irrelevant topics, focus on the syllabus itself. Don't solve decades old questions because pattern keep on changing. Don't depend completely on only sample papers. You have to study in depth. Don't revise all the chapters in one day. Make a proper timetable that in this particular time which chapter will you do, and you have to make a timetable for that. And definitely eat healthy and sleep well. During the examination, don't leave questions unanswered. Don't write irrelevant information. Don't forget to tick mark your attempted questions in the question paper, but do not write anything else in the question paper. Don't skip proofreading. It is very important to keep some time for revision of your answer sheet. And thank you so much. All the best.